My distinguished colleagues, I'm very happy for this debate. I also wish to align myself with the minority leader, some of the concerns that he has raised. Mr. Chairman, I also align with Honorable Gaza and my brother, Malam Nasiru Rufai. When we look at the projections for the exchange rate, the government of renewed hope is actually telling us now that no matter what we do for the stabilization of the Naira will never get down below 1,400. Today in the parallel market, Naira is close to 1,800 to the dollar. The strict projection, Mr. Speaker, is that by December, Naira will be 2,000 Naira to the dollar. And we're benchmarking 1,400. What it means is that the renewed suffering, hunger, instability continues. So we need to be circumspect, Mr. Chairman, on some of these projections. If we were saying that by 2000, well, just like Gaza said, we need to be realistic. At least we should peg it between 1,500 to 1,600 to be realistic to the current exchange rate that is prevalent in the country. So that is what I'm proposing, Mr. Speaker.
Represent the good people of Kaduna North. I want to appreciate this session and the debates going on, particularly commend the minority leader and you saying he's doing what he's meant to do. It's been very educative. I like to highlight that. So, believe it or not, I understand Honorable Gaza's need for cautiousness. That doesn't mean that is my position. I think the Chairman Finance, whose experience can give us the granular explanation as to why 1.4 was targeted. The reason why I thought to speak, Your Excellency, is because if we get this part very wrong, well, even though the document is not cast in stone, we will come back for multiple amendments. The CBN, the Monetary Policy Committee, hiked interest rate yesterday. I think it's currently at 27.5%. The governor met the House committee recently, Your Excellency, and he assured us that they've taken their decisions based on accurate data. We are a country that does not like data. That's why I like it when leader Googled the fact. We have the National Bureau of Statistics. They have told us that our economy has grown by 3.2% or more. But Nigerians were so used to bad news, we don't like to admit when there is good news, like the Port Harcourt refinery.
So, exchange rate, and it's proposing 1,400. My colleagues, the Chairman, Finance and National Planning, have equally said so eloquently that if there is any major shift, it is not a document that is cast in stone. We can still come back and look at it critically. Now, over the past year, we have seen the volatility with regards to our currency. And the problem is a situation where we have a country that everything or a good amount of whatever we do is actually pegged to the cost of the dollar. If we do not get an appropriate or a very suitable proposed rate, what that will mean is that we would have to increase our borrowing to make up for any deficit. I just looked at the CBN rates for today, and the CBN is giving us a rate of 1,678 to 1,679 to a dollar. And I look at what do we have on ground that will enable us project that the dollar will fall to 1,004. As God is my witness, I would be the happiest person if the dollar falls that low. But we must be very realistic. Are we looking at the Dangote refinery? What component? How much in terms of value? And don't forget that we're in a phase of energy transition where we're moving away from fossil fuels and we're going to critical elements. We're going to scenarios where we're doing more batteries and less of fuel. And fuel, fossil fuel, still remains our main source of income. So I've actually preferred that we look at a rate, considering the rate at which it has been progressing or declining. Let us equally look at a more realistic rate. Probably put it, maybe even if it is 1,005 a barrel, it will be more realistic in the long run. Thank you.
One of the explanations, or maybe the major explanations, 2026, that is actually a year to the elections. And we know that a lot of foreign direct investments will slow down because of the uncertainty. These have been demonstrated by data that when you have elections coming up in a country like Nigeria, there will be a lot of uncertainty in place, and that will slow down a lot of things. And I'm sure that's why we have that kind of projection. So you see that after the elections, that year of election, you see the projection goes up again. I mean, it happens in every major country, even in the US. So that is the explanation for that. Thank you.
With regards to the item under consideration, which is about the exchange rate, I want to recall our minds to what happened last year and what is happening now. As at last year, our country was still import dependent on almost all our petroleum products, neat as a country. But as we speak, we have Dangote refinery that is capable of meeting all our consumption energy needs in that sector. And if you also recall, the import of our petroleum products was one of the major line items that exacted a lot of pressure on our naira. And as we speak, that load has been offloaded from our naira. So with this projection by the joint committees on finance and national planning, in my own estimation, it is rightly in order for us to maintain that tempo. As you submit, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the basis of why we devalued our naira is because we have less revenue, so that we'll have content of dollar to share across the country in order to execute development projects. Our revenue is short. We need to devalue the naira so that we get more value of the currency and share to pay salaries, to do other things across the country. That is just the layman understanding. Well, in reference to this projection, 2025, 2026, 2027, we said our oil receipts and production will improve. So we will look at the monetary policy and see, okay, since our oil revenue has improved, we'll have more dollar content, therefore we'll have more naira. So a naira will be strengthened, will get more value. It will be stepped down, but it's still not too ambitious. It's within the margin of, realities with respect to monetary policy. Everybody will attest to the fact that the monetary policy of this country over the years, over 1.5 years, there's a lot of discipline in it. And I think they are doing very well. They are doing very cautious. And then if you reflect to what the committees are recommending for the parliament to look at, our oil revenue will increase marginally. We have stabilized the benchmark. Last year was $80. This year, because the oil production has reached about 1.5 million barrels, everybody can attest to the fact that the revenue receipts has improved. You see what the states are getting, 1.4 trillion, 1.5 trillion, 1.3 trillion, which was not the same early 2024. It was 1.2, 1.1. So there is a marginal increase in what comes into the kitties of government. And I think this projection is reasonable if our colleagues will look at it and will look at how the economy is trying to come out from the mud. And I think if we can allow it to go, it will help us so that we can move forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Decisions. Yes, I want to make it brief. We are taking a very sensitive decisions, and we have taken a resolve on some clauses at the very beginning of this consideration. We agreed and convinced that 2.something million barrels will be produced on daily basis. It's a projection. And we equally agree that the benchmark is $75 to a barrel. We equally projected that it's going to be 4.6 growth in our GDP. Bearing in mind doing all this, the assumption is the value of our currency is going to improve, thereby reducing the level or the value of our exchange rate. So my assumption is maybe the committee is even under ambitious to me, Honorable Jaha. I can even go for 1.3. Yes, because we have approved in the past 2.something million barrel per day. $75 to a barrel per day, per barrel. And we equally projected 4.6 against 3.6 GDP growth. So you cannot approve with right hand and disapprove with the left hand. So fellow members should understand our stand on the 1.4 is because of our previous stand of the previous approval. Thank you.
And of course, the major contributions that have been made. I think that finance is not in isolation of activities. And Honorable Jaha has just said the main issue. We are expecting growth. And when we grow, we have more money in the kitty. We are expecting increase in our volume of oil production. When we have increase in the volume of oil production, your foreign reserve will increase. When your foreign reserve increase from what it is, you are stronger. Your currency, your naira will be stronger. Do you understand? Against any other currency. I think this is just the basic issue. It's not about, it's not a guesswork. What we should do, of course, is from my brother from minority leader from the south, they should please appeal to them to ensure that there is stability in the oil production. If we have stability in the oil production, we have more crude oil. When we have more crude oil, we are able to export. When we export, we have more money. If you take my brother from Imo also, saying we should increase to 1,005 to 1,006. Yet, you said Nigerians, the poor Nigerians are crying of hunger. If you increase to 1,006, you are also increasing cost. Do you understand? We are saying there is no way, if you have growth, estimated growth of 4.6, you cannot remain on the same exchange rate. Simple and straightforward. And when you talk about borrowing, sir, borrowing is already detailed. Sir, borrowing is already detailed in the bill before us.
Thank you.
So please be patient with us. Our projected inflation rate is 15.75 for 2025, which is barely a month away, 14.21 for 2026, and 10.04 for 2027. Again, the same worry of my dear colleague will come to play. Now, if we look at the inflation rate as it stands today, let me borrow a leaf from you so I don't make any error again. I know that in June, it was 34.9 in June this year. And June last year, that is a year ago, it was 22.79. There was an increase of close to 10%. But from the information we have, as at October, it's 34%. By November, this month, it's 33.5. That is a reduction of 5%. And the projection is that by December, 16th of December. Yes, I'm coming to that. By 16th of December, that will have 36%. So I don't see how, in a matter of 1 or 2 months, that the inflation rate will come down to 15%, over 100% reduction. No, I'm just saying that the projection for 2025 is about 2 months away. That's where I'm going to. So I'm saying that the projection is over ambitious. Let us take it. I sincerely and with every sense of responsibility.
The same way you call other people back, when you achieve winning, it's the same way I'm calling you back. Sit down. Jack used to call people, sit down. You are doing that, sit down. So Jack today, sit down. Good.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. So, conclusively, I would want to say that I speak as a statesman, and I also speak with every sense of responsibility. I will pray that these projections are achieved in my country, Nigeria. That's my vision. I even pray that we achieve better than this. But we need to be realistic. That's where I'm going to. Now, I think that we should be looking at what has been happening, the downward trend. It's not more than 5% a month. And that's what I will pray, that we base our projections on 5% reduction monthly. That will be more reasonable and achievable. I will also refer to the reports. If you look at page 18 of the report, clause 6.2, where the committee, in its finding, said that the inflation rate is projected to decline from an average of 27.85 in 2024 to 16.94 in 2025. Now, having found this, you're also giving us a recommendation of 15.75 in the 2025. So what I'm saying is that this projection is even in conflict with the finding of the committee. So please, let us adopt perhaps the minimum, the finding of the committee, not the recommendation. Thank you, sir.
Mistake somewhere. And because we are fallible, we can make mistakes. But this is not realistic. Anybody who knows the common definition of inflation is inflation occurs when goods and services, the prices of goods and services increase or rise too much. We know we have this in this country. But I think this mistake must have come from the executive. There is no way, with the current trajectory of our economy, that we can achieve 15% inflation rate in 2025 and then achieve 14.21 in 2026 and coming down to 10% in 20. Look, Mr. Chairman, this is not realistic.
What's your proposal?
No, I'm not saying I should give a proposal, but we must look at this and probably this mistake must have come from the executive, because they are somehow, yes, we should have done a better job to scrutinize the data.
This is a recommendation from the House.
The committee. Mr. Chairman, because I don't have the data, we are considering a report. I don't have the data.
The report is coming from the committee.
Yes.
It's not from the executive. Okay, let's hear the chairman of the committee.
Thank you. When you have too much money chasing fewer goods, okay, that shuts up prices of goods. We are saying that by next year, where food or goods will be more available. In fact, Chairman Customs has said there are more Nigerians importing equipment than before, which means Nigeria is going to, we want to see a production year by next year. And when you see a production year, which means you have money and the goods are also available at the same time. That would drop the inflation. And the minority people leaders should be commending the government for aiming high to bring down the inflation rate, rather than say we should increase the inflation rate. This is my own comment, Mr. Speaker.
And be more efficient and very effective. This is a challenge. Honorable Sadasoli, with due respect, I want us to take this as a challenge to the executive. Let them go and drive this process and give us this result that we are talking about. And I want to appeal that the function of this honorable house as the house of the people, the house defending Nigerians, is that at the end of the day, by the special grace of God, this should be our happiest moment at the end of the year 2025, when this is achieved. And it is our job, it's our function, the oversight and then the pressure of the government to make sure that this projection, this that they have said they will achieve, in actual fact, instead of 15, they should come. Mr. Speaker, as at today is 33.3. It's 33.3, to be very honest. 3, to be very honest.
So you are splitting it to 50%. So the impact that we want to make, is it going to give us 50% strong enough to drop it 50%?
You have, as you have postulated, Mr. Chairman, that we have a long another 365 days after end of this year to really, I'm talking about is throughout the year for 2025, for us to look at the key performance and indicators at achieving these very results. Mr. Chairman, sir. Thank you.
Order.